Discover your inner goddess and live up to your highest value and most abundant potential. Welcome to Grateful Goddesses, a podcast that empowers you to unleash your inner goddess and take the leap of faith to live your best life. Your guide, Karen Pulver, joins her fellow goddesses in soulful conversations about gratitude, personal growth, authentic living, and a bevy of topics affecting women today. Let's start the show with your host, Karen Pulver.
There are so many lessons that we learn as a young child. We learn how to read, how to write, the proper ways of acting. And as we grow up and we're learning all of these lessons, we realize that those lessons are not really what will work for us in society. Of course, reading and writing, but what's really important are life lessons, are lessons that we can learn from people who have lived a fulfilling, purposeful, driven life, have been passionate, have leaped before they looked. That is our guest today is Elaine Soloway, and she is a woman that we are going to learn from who has lived a very passionate, purposeful life. She continues to learn new things, learn new lessons in life, and she's going to share with us today the many life lessons that she's learned. Welcome to Grateful Goddesses, and I'm so honored and so grateful to have Elaine Soloway with us today. Hi, Elaine.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very honored.
Well, Elaine and I met through a friend. My girlfriend was going to a singing class here in Chicago at the Old Town School of Music, and she called me and said that she met this amazing woman who was also an author of a book, The Division Street Princess.
Oh, there. Oh, good. We got marketing going on. That's great.
Oh my gosh. And not only that, so I was going through this book because you came to my house to do a book club.
Right. We did a read. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And you said to Karen, thank you for hosting the book group with my memoir. I look forward to your journey. And now what, 10 years later, I think? You're here.
Right. We're both still journeying. Karen.
We're both still journeying. Right. Yep. And I've met with you a few times, whether it be on Facebook or for coffee. I took a writing class. I was so inspired by you. And I'm like, oh, if she can, I'm going to try this out. Never really went that far, but it's okay. It's always good to take and try new things.
That's my philosophy.
I know. And we're going to get into talking about that, but I want to read more about you. So Elaine Soloway is a Chicagoan, woohoo, and the author of 4 books, The Division Street Princess, Bad Grandma, and Other Chapters in a Life Lived Out Loud, which, by the way, I loved.
Oh, good.
Green Nails and Other Acts of Rebellion, Life After Loss, and She's Not the Type. She has recently been published in HuffPost. Why I Got a Tattoo Instead of a Facelift for my 80th birthday. We cannot wait to talk about that. And Next Av, How to Be a Rebel After 80. Another essay appeared in Harper's Bazaar. She's My Ex-Husband, the true story behind Transparent. The Emmy Award-winning television series Transparent was created by Elaine Soloway's child, Jill, and inspired by their family. Follow Elaine on elainesoloway.com, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, which, by the way, if you are not already following, you must, because your posts are so not only inspiring, but thought-provoking and real. And they're just...
Appreciate that.
I appreciate following you. So I wanted to ask you, I was in a hair salon before all this started, the COVID, staying at home. And there was a woman there that was in the waiting area and she was sketching people's pictures. So she said, to give donations if we wanted it. So I had my pictures, my little photo picture, I don't know, looks like me. And she said, what defines you? And I was like, I don't. She goes, just tell me, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? So I said, well, it's my inner strength and ability to connect with others.
Lovely.
And at that moment, I was thinking about relaunching Grateful Goddesses, which, as you know, I had mentioned to you 10 years back that I did this group here in the city.
Right. It was successful, if I recall.
It was successful. And then I about 3 years went by doing it. It was so much fun and so just great. And then I had a health issue, which
Mm.
kind of halted things. But I'm starting back up and I'm pivoting, and here we are. So thank you for joining us. But I want to ask you, because you have many, many roles. Here, let's pretend I'm sketching your picture.
Okay.
Now, Elaine, tell me what defines you.
I would think my philosophy of life is called leap before you look, which means I take action. I really do not debate on yes, no, should I, shouldn't, which of course has resulted in 17 moves in my life.
17? Oh my gosh,
Right.
I didn't realize
17,
that many. Okay.
Right. Many jobs, but only 2 spouses, so that's pretty good. That's pretty good. But also a variety of lessons. But some I've continued: piano, Spanish, swimming, and there was, of course, tennis. You could put in there, improv, whatever struck my fancy. I would take a class, but then I would just quickly drop out if it didn't suit me. So I think that's one thing that defines me, is my willingness to not be embarrassed. Because people will say, but you said, and I say, yeah, but I changed my mind. I think the willingness to change your mind is what defines me. And this is my dog, who now wants to be.
Oh, that's okay. What's your dog's name?
My dog is Doris.
Hi, Doris. Now,
Doris,
Elaine, have you always been that way? Like, do you remember when you were younger being that way?
No, I was not. No, that's a good question. I was not always that way. And I'm not sure when it started, but I can tell you when my life changed drastically.
Yes,
and
please share with us that.
Yeah. So in about 1969, my spouse at the time the trajectory of our marriage was married, and I was 24, I believe, when I got married.
So was I.
No worry.
Young.
Oh, that's young for
young.
me. For my age, it wasn't young.
Okay.
And so we got married. We moved to North Side. Then my spouse got drafted, so we were in Massachusetts. Had my first child. Then came back, lived on the near South Side, Prairie Shores, if you know that area. Mm-hmm. Then my spouse was a physician, and so then we moved to Glenview, and because that's where all Jewish families goes. And by that time, I had 2 kids. Two kids. And when I was in Glenview, I realized that I was fish out of water. That I really, even though everybody was like me, Jewish, upper, middle class, little kids, I was very unhappy there. And I would be taking buses back to the city, because when we lived at Prairie Shores, I really loved living around there in a more diverse area. So fortunately, my spouse decided to change careers, change specialties, and we had to go medical school to take a new specialty. So I had read about this community called South Commons. It was on the near South Side of 28th in Michigan, whose object was to integrate people of races, ages, incomes in a variety of housing styles. It was on 30 acres. When we got there, after we unpacked, there was a community center in the center of South Commons, and I went there, and there was all this livelihood going on, classes and people and diverse and excitement. And I think within a month, I was editor of the community newspaper, a producer of the musical theater, head of the tenants organization. So you're
like Marsha Brady, signing up for every club.
Was she like that? My kids know that better, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like I changed from an unhappy housewife who always felt that I wasn't in the right place to this, very much community activist. And that started the change in me. And I'm still the same person. I remember I wrote an essay called, would your 30, my dog wants to speak. Would your 30, how would your 30-year-old self feel about your 80-year-old self? And I realized that my 30-year-old self would be very happy, because I turned out to be just continuing doing the same things I was doing. Well, some of my friends were very unhappy when
Right.
I posed that question then, because things did not turn out the way they wanted. So I have to say that, and I say this often, South Commons was the thing that changed my life the most.
Well, it's interesting that you had that question, you're 30 something, asking you're 80
Mhm.
something, because I was actually going to ask you what would, myself and the future goddesses that you'll meet in a minute, we're all in our 50s.
Mhm.
So I was going to say, what would you tell your 50-year-old
Mhm.
Elaine right now?
My 50-year-old, who was my 50-year-old? I'm sure I
Are you
was
still
working.
married to your first
What year would I have been? If I
spouse?
was born in 38, so in 88, no, I was already in business. I was in public relations I think, so, what happened was when I was in South Commons and I was encouraged to enroll in the class because I
Okay.
thought urban was the most beautiful word I had ever heard. And so I got a degree in urban planning. And from then, I went to work for the PR person for South Commons.
Okay.
And then, so I started a PR career then. So that was a
So what
highlight.
would you tell, looking back at yourself at 50, would you say, give any advice to yourself then? Like, were you looking back, like, would you say you're on the right path? Or I'm not sure. I guess I'm just,
I would say trust your instincts. I would say trust your instincts. And again, don't be afraid to make a change because you can always go back. And the change, it might be better on the other side, but you'll never know if you do it. I have friends who are static that um, will not make a change, even though it's something exciting for them. But I think it's so important. And it's not risks because when you've lived for even 50 years, you have enough information in your mental portfolio to kind of know what strengths you have. And
yeah.
I think being afraid to move is very dangerous especially for women, I think you have to be willing to jump, and if it doesn't work out, you can always change.
Can always change.
Yeah.
I do want to touch on, I just had my 29-year anniversary with my husband. We
Mazel
raised,
tov.
thank you.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
have 3 young adults that are finding themselves in the world. And I noticed that your first spouse, that you were married 30 years. And I was thinking the other day, because you're coming on the show, that things suddenly changed. I know that your spouse, I don't really know the correct way of saying this, but
Well, I'll give
you
you
can
the
help me out.
education where I was. First of all, yesterday, June 19th, besides being Juneteenth,
Yes.
was our anniversary. And even though we've been divorced for many years, she called me to wish me a happy anniversary. So that will
Wow.
tell you that we have a great relationship, and we're still parents of
Okay.
our children. So what happened was we divorced
Yes.
because we weren't happy, but it wasn't an angry divorce. It was a sad divorce. The things just
Okay.
were not, neither one of us were happy. So we divorced in 90 something around then. I was single for about 6 years and then remarried in 1998, I think. And then was with my second spouse till 2012, till he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
But in 2011, my first spouse, who I was still remained friends with, came out as transgender, which meant that she wanted to be living her life as a woman, and that she had had this feeling all of her life,
Wow.
but was shamed. I mean, into not telling anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So she had been in a group therapy group and was encouraged to come out to the children. And
This happened after you divorced.
after divorce, yeah, and in second marriage, and as everyone asked
Okay.
me, I had no idea. There was no. Everyone asked me, did I know? I
Oh,
had
do
no
they?
idea. Yeah, I had no idea. No, she kept the secret. It was a
Okay.
really
Okay.
good secret. Mm-hmm.
So I want to bring on my featured goddesses to
Mm-hmm.
join us.
Mm-hmm. Hi,
So we,
Rachel. Hi, Alyssa. Hi, Dina.
Hi.
Mhm.
oh, I don't even have to introduce them.
No, have you been listening? Have you been eavesdropping to us?
We
Yeah.
have.
Oh,
Yes. I wanted to surprise you with them.
mhm.
We've had discussions because the Grateful Goddess group that I'm trying to bring back and relaunch is so difficult now because we're in settle in place. So these girls I met, I don't know them that well, but I met them here. Yeah, I met them here and there, and I met them for coffee before, turning this into a podcast, thinking that we would start this group here in the city, and then things changed. So I'm getting to know them, they're getting to know me, and it's been a really fun journey. I think it's been, right, guys? So we were talking, we're all in our 50s, we have kids.
Not yet.
Oh, you're not in your 50s yet? Oh, that's right. So we have similar yet different backgrounds. And, when you listen to our first podcast, Get to Know Us, that for sure will tell you a bit more about us. But they have questions for you. So,
Hi,
Dina, bring it on.
So we are very curious to hear more about your tattoo and what.
I forgot to wear sleeveless today. My goodness.
That's
enough to do. Here's my tattoos, right?
Oh,
can you see them?
Turn a bit.
Okay. Like so this one I just got when I was 80, and it's a tattoo of a seahorse because I finally learned how to swim. That was a lifetime goal, and when I finally learned how to swim, I got a tattoo of a seahorse. And this I got when I was 60, and it's my 2 children's names. And I happen to love tattoos. It also adds to my badass character. I love tattoos.
Will you get more?
I would like to, but I was going to do it, but then the pandemic hit, but I'm still gonna try. It's to have an artist who's willing to do it, because at my age, we worry about thin skin and all that. So if I can, he agreed to do this when I was 80, so I think he'll be up for it when I'm going to be 82 August the 10th. So I'll work on that.
You'll get another one. So we discovered yesterday when we were talking that Dina has one too.
Oh, Dina, let's see.
She won't show you.
I can't show you, but I did it in my 40s, not as a,
right.
a young thing as well.
So you don't exhibit it, Dina? You don't exhibit it?
No. I mean, yeah, in a bathing suit, you'll see it.
But... Right. And what was the reason you got it?
I was with 4 or 5 girlfriends in Vegas.
Oh boy.
Right.
We were not, we all remembered it. We all did initials, our kids' initials and husbands. So that was the inspiration. They all got theirs like on their wrists and places that they look at them on. Mine's
so yours is just initials?
It's in a star with the initials.
Okay.
First husband. And I was so excited. I'm like, look what I did in your name and this and that. And he was like, loser. He's
well, there he goes. Get rid of him.
So what I wanted to share about Dina, Elaine, is that she too is her first husband passed away, so she is also a widow.
A young widow. You're a young widow.
But she's remarried and has a wonderful husband, also same name as my husband. So
his initial is not on me though, so
that's why I never had my spouse's name. I thought it was too dangerous, right?
Hi, Elaine. So nice to meet you.
Same here.
I have to tell you, I love your philosophy of leaping before you look, partly because it's like the polar opposite of the way I live my life. I think I look both ways and forwards and behind me, and then look again, and then maybe one day.
You make lists. You make pro and con lists, and then ask everybody their advice.
Guilty as charged. Yes, I do. But what I want to ask is, one of your published works is called Bad Grandma and Other Chapters in a Life Lived Out Loud, and which is an amazing title. And I'm just wondering, so people may have different interpretations of what it means to live a life out loud. And I was so curious and wanted to know what you mean by that idea.
Well, because my children have a television show called Transparent, and there is a mother in Transparent, and there are actions in Transparent that mirror my life. So if you watch Transparent, it's about a spouse who comes out as transgender, another spouse who has dementia. With my second husband, you have to watch. I'm trying very much on gender so that I don't misgender my first spouse. And I do not call my first spouse he or husband, because that's one thing I've learned. And, but my second husband passed away in 2012, and he had an illness called frontotemporal degeneration. And in the show, Shelley's Judith Light, who played a version of me, taller, a little more Jewish, had a husband who had dementia. So, and then a lot of the episodes, such as Bad Grandma, are in the show. So that was my living out loud. If you watch 5 seasons Transparent, you'll see a lot of my life in there.
So you mean more living it almost publicly
right,
out loud.
Publicly.
But it seems like this leaping before you look could also be interpreted as a life out loud, meaning, you know, in the more metaphorical sense, right? Like living out loud could be, you know, growing and evolving and trying new things and just.
I like that. I'm going to steal that. Yeah, I like that.
You're welcome to it, but I wasn't sure which, but it, you know.
Well, that's where the original was a TV show, but there's nothing shy about my life. I mean, I write, I publish, I'm on Facebook, I'm on mostly Facebook, some Twitter, some Instagram. I love social media. And so, yeah, I'm out there, right? I'm out there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm. It's so nice to meet you.
Thank you, Rachel.
I love your story. Like I really, it is so inspiring. And I love that it's like that curiosity in life. And I do.
That's a really curious. I'm very curious. And that is something that people pointed out. And I think that's really important, to be curious, but also to follow up on it. I mean, you can be curious and then never do any research on it or take a step towards it. But curiosity is something we can do as we age. And if we're in a wheelchair or on a walker or anything, to be curious.
Right. Well, and taking the classes, I mean, that's part of your research, like learning.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, as you're doing all these different things and you're kind of, it's like all these like different personas, like you were saying, like you started a community activist persona and you were a director and all of these different roles.
Mm-hmm.
But you also talk about ageism and how that's so prevalent in society. And so kind of owning who you are and, you know, what your age represents, but at the same time, just being open with it and owning yourself. And I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
Right. I really don't dwell on ageism because I don't feel it affects me. And I'm very honest about my age because I feel that women especially are their own worst enemies when they refuse to tell their age. Because what is that saying if I say, well, is that is denigrating your age if you refuse to tell anyone. So I have always been very open about my age. In fact, I don't know if you're from Chicago, but Mary Schmich wrote a column, let's see how many years ago, when I was 72, about me that said my age is my hook. And it was something about starting my PR business. And now I feel the same way that at 81 and a half, notice I put the half in, that it is a hook again, because somehow people have this vision, you know, of people my age being, you know, like they're old bubbies or something. But I'm not that different from many people, many of my friends. But I'm also fortunate, I'm going to touch wood here, that I'm in good physical shape. So that helps a lot. The only problem I have, and it is a problem, is that I'm very short. I'm 4'9" at the last height. I refuse to get my height taken anymore. And that happens when you're aging. And I just, you know, if there was anything I wish I could do, and I can't, is to be taller. And I refuse to wear high heels anymore. So.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a good presence. I always say that about people. Like it is all about your presence, and I'm sure.
I appear taller. I appear taller than I am. People are always surprised how small I am, but I feel taller. Where are you three located? Are you all in Chicago?
Mm-hmm.
I'm more curious about you guys. Yeah. You're all in Chicago. Yeah.
I'm in Andersonville.
Andersonville, well.
Lakeview?
Lakeview.
Uptown.
And everybody's a city person. Yeah, that's good.
Dina, in fact, taught my 25-year-old son preschool.
On the topic today.
I keep saying that, but look, Elaine's saying not to, she's giving us advice about age. Like, you should own it. You taught him 20 years ago.
Right, absolutely. No,
you look the same.
Yeah.
Elaine, I wanted to ask you, I was reading Bad Grandma, and you have visitors and you talk to them quite a bit. Your late husband, who, by the way, that romance just sounds beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, that's a whole other, just how he just was easy and everything. But he comes to check on you. Is that really what happens, or is that what you wrote?
The reason that I do that, because I've done that with my parents, is that I don't think that we should forget people who die. And I think that when I write these, it's very easy because I can conjure him in my mind, and it's like he's there. I just don't want dead people to leave, I guess. And if you write about it, you can. It's very easy to do that. It's an easy way to write an essay, to just imagine. I have one where I have my father sitting at the pool, watching me swim, wondering I have to use all these devices when he could swim at the Y. I have my mother saying, another one with my mother is, "You're cooking, you don't cook well." So what it does is it brings them back into my life. And my readers love those, because
love it, yeah.
The idea that you can resurrect a person is very fulfilling. And again, it's easy because they do really appear. You hear their voice, you see what they're sitting, and I'll have to do another one of those. I love those. I want to do it with my brother. My brother passed away 2 years ago.
I remember you told me he was very sick. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so it's time to bring him back. It took me a while to think about that, but now he can come back. We can have a good conversation.
So is it just in the writing that they come back, or is it like when you're, because I know you said something about talking to yourself and you're walking, or do you actually, while you're at home or out walking, talk to them?
Well, here's another thing I do, which I find that it has helped my memory. I say a prayer every morning before I leave the house. And my prayer is kind of like on a column or bed. It's got different sections in it. It's got people, everyone that I am grateful for in my life. It's got physicians. It's got people I know. It's got my doorman. It's got products. And it takes me 15 minutes, and I've memorized it over the years.
Wow.
And which I think has helped my memory, but you can't interrupt me, because if you interrupt me and I lose one thread, then the whole thing falls apart. But anyway, back to your question. I talk to my brother in those, I see them. My brother always said, "Love you more," when he said goodbye. So, and talk to them every morning.
I was just going to add to that. I've been doing like on this spiritual path, and I actually really believe in past lives. And I do believe that, like, there's, your soul's plan are different souls that are meant to be in your life and educate you in whatever way. And whether someone wants to believe it or not, I think it's such a beautiful way of thinking that, like, in each life you're learning whatever lessons you need to learn so that you can become a better person when your soul starts over in the next life, and those lessons kind of come back to you, and you become like a perfect soul. So as you're just saying that, I just think it's a beautiful notion, whether you believe it or not, that you believe, like, that you're remembering the spirit of them, and whether you believe in spirits or past lives or not, it's like you are keeping that spirit alive all the time. And we all have voices in our head. Like, we can't get rid of them. Like, all the advice that we get all the time are in our head.
Well, I have two thoughts about that. One, I believe that when sometimes we meet a stranger and we fall immediately, woman, man, person, and fall immediately in love. And so I believe that we did know that person in a previous life, that they were maybe my child, my mother, whatever. Because how does that happen? That you just meet somebody and there's an instantaneous relationship. But I believe, because I've been thinking about this a lot, because people have been saying to me, does it bother you, that you're older and one day you're going to die and everything's over? And I said, first of all, you think differently about dying when you're 81 and a half than when you're 40. Because by 81 and a half, you're almost ready, you're kind of ready. Not that I want to die, but I've had an amazing life. But also I think from kind of a biological chemistry thing. So when we die, we go into the earth, right? Mm-hmm. And supposedly we were born from tadpoles or wherever evolution has started out. So we could evolve into another person a million years from now. I mean, do we really know that this is 2020? This could be, who knows what year it is? Yeah, who knows what year it is? So I don't worry about death. Yeah, I do believe that we have known each other. Anyway, life is so unpredictable. That's why I do believe that one should move on desires, because I did learn a lesson. No more taking the dog in a heavy box at the same time. But life is very unpredictable.
And there's so much going on now. We can't finish this discussion without mentioning, being inside, sheltering in place, COVID, and the social injustices that, are coming to the forefront. Mm-hmm. And we've discussed as a group, what can we do? What are things that, new things we're learning? And we want to pick your brain on that. It's multiple things going on, but
I'll talk about social justice because I've been involved in that for a long time. And I had an event a year ago with Elaine Glatton, who is a columnist for the Chicago Tribune. And it was called What Black Women Want White Women to Know. And I hosted that event in my building. And it was really very interesting. But I had read like about a dozen books by Black authors and about racism, and wanted to share it with a lot of other people. So, but since then, and now with Zoom, I'm one of these people who really love Zoom. I started a anti-racism book group, and we're on our fourth book. Our first book was Hood Feminism. Second was The Color of Water. The third, Just Mercy. And then for our fourth, we're reading The Warmth of Other Suns. So my group has grown from about 6 to 25. And that is because I felt that I didn't understand the Black experience until I read all those books. That I think until you read what Black people experience, you cannot appreciate their life and their anger and their disappointment. So that's what I'm doing. And then I don't know that I collate every morning. That what I do when I get up, I read. Let's say I start at Chicago Tribune, Sun Times, Washington Post, New York Times, and also The Guardian, Vanity Fair, and other newspapers online. And I flip through them and find articles that are of interest to me. And I post them on Facebook. And you can, actually all of you should friend me on Facebook. But I post the entire article because so many people can't get past the paywall. If I find it interesting, they're usually on politics, on gender, on women, whatever interests me. It could be a variety of things. So that is my contribution also, making sure people know all these stories and these great journalists. So that's that part.
We're also on that journey too. We've talked as, for white women, we've talked about educating white fragility and, just that journey that we don't realize, and educating ourselves. The other part to the question was really just about 2020 and what's happening in our world now. And with COVID and being inside, I know Doris is new, right? You're
right.
Yeah. So I asked you the other day, what are you doing to keep busy? Are you swimming? And you can't swim. So you said, well, I'm walking my dog 4 or 5 times a day. So I just was, with what's going on even today I don't want to get political, but today there's, something big going on in our
Well, I'm going to
country.
get political. I mean,
Okay, you get political. You go, girl.
Right. But first of all, I just wrote an essay called 6 Things I Learned About Myself in the Pandemic. And you can just Google
okay.
It's on my website.
Okay.
Yeah. And one of them is, well, it starts with getting the dog is the best thing I could have done. And it also talks about that I kind of am a hermit and I really like being home and I love Zoom meetings. I don't want to get dressed up. I haven't had makeup on. I hope you guys appreciate it. I have makeup on today, but I am not wearing a bra. So that I can give you that. I'm not giving you that. I've gone 3 months without it, but I'm wearing makeup. So I love being home. I watch TV with my lunch and dinner. And again, I get out because I have the dog.
So you were going to get political.
Yes, I am. I'm horrified at this administration. It makes me sad and angry. And I think I'm more angry at the Republicans for not stopping Trump because they have it in their power to do it. And what he's doing now, completely avoiding the dangers from COVID. Already people in his administration have gotten ill, and making his followers be there and to sign a waiver, which is admitting that there's a possibility. You know, I've lived long enough to go through a lot of presidents, and it's nothing new that he's the most.
Well, I just became a U.S. citizen a couple years ago.
Really?
So
Where were you?
in Canada.
Oh,
I'm dual citizen, so I get to vote now.
Oh, great.
And my kids can vote. And I mean, you know, I've been here for 29 years, but I never really put a lot of thought into politics because I was Canadian for so long. And then finally, when I became a U.S. citizen, the first thing I did was make a Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, all these years I had never done that. And my kids were like raised American. They're like, Mom, just make a turkey already. So, and now I can vote. So this is kind of, I know it sounds crazy, but it's new to me, just really getting into politics. And I'm learning a lot too in that area. So I just was curious. I know you post a lot about that, and
right. I was
you're educating me so much.
Yeah, and I've already applied for my mail-in ballot. And you can do that now on vote.org. Yeah,
absolutely,
I think it's really crucial.
What you said about Republicans kind of getting in line behind him and not calling him out, to me is the biggest atrocity. And the vindication of the 2 Supreme Court decisions this week, that not all conservative-leaning people, like there are, to me, I don't even judge if someone's Republican or Democrat anymore. It's whether you support Trump or not. Like it's such a different line, and it's the human nature of it all. To support someone that you don't think has good intentions or is of sound mind, and don't call him out.
Exactly.
To me, the biggest atrocity.
No,
so
I
when I said that, it resonated so strongly.
You have to follow Elaine because you have to read. You post just like a summary, like I guess, and now I know why, because you go through. I didn't realize that, and you can just go to Elaine just to on the. What's hot right now.
I was so happy with the LGBTQ decision because not only do I have an ex who I'm very friendly with who's transgender, but I have one daughter one child who's non-binary, and another daughter who's a lesbian. So we are a rainbow in my family. So it's very important that law was passed. Yeah. Great.
So I want to end with your top advice. And what I saw was, number 1, to journal.
Yes, still do that. But I do it in Spanish. Did I tell you that?
No.
Well,
come on.
I finally, there are 3 things that I've always wanted to do as long as I remember. 1 was to swim, learn how to swim. 2 was to speak Spanish just in the first whatever. And the 3rd was to play the piano. And I can do all of those now very poorly, and no one is allowed to watch me. I swim in a 4-foot deep pool, just back and forth, but I can lift my head to breathe, and hence the tattoo. I can play Rodgers and Hart on my keyboard. and I can understand and speak some Spanish. So to keep up the Spanish, I write my journal in Spanish. Of course, I have to look up many words, but I could get by. Yeah, I can get by.
And is the piano in the closet?
No, not anymore. I moved from that apartment, Karen.
When I,
you're 3 apartments behind me, right?
Because I went to visit you, I forget, a couple of years ago.
The Aqua, right? When the piano was in the closet, right?
She had a piano in the closet.
Yeah.
Okay, so you also said take a class, either something new or something you relate to. Use a timer for your tasks like chores. I did that today, which was life changing because it was laundry, which I hate. Right. And I said, I'm going to do this for 30 minutes. And I got it all done. Become a morning person, which I am. Are you guys morning people? The rest of it? No. But you actually get up at 4 a.m.
Right. But I go to bed at 8.
I saw.
I do get 8 hours. I do get 8 hours.
Okay.
Right.
Well, you said take a walk and just talk to yourself. Like just don't care, and what's funny is I do you guys do this? I put my earbuds in because I'm still a little embarrassed if without them. So I pretend like I'm on the phone and then express appreciation, like a written thank you note, which we'll be sending you.
Oh, thank you so much. Right. I wrote an essay about that. Right.
Thank you so much, Elaine, for joining us on Grateful Goddesses. You are the ultimate goddess to us. We learned so much from you.
Am I the oldest goddess?
And thank you.
No, I'm grateful that you just went ahead and did it. And look at what you've done already. You should be very proud of yourself.
Oh, thanks. It's been fun. And these guys, I know that Alyssa, was sort of like, I don't know, I'm not sure. And I said, let's just come on, hold my hand. Let's just go.
Leave. I had to think about the pros and cons first.
When we're back out in the world, we'd love to invite you to actually speak to more women, although, and men too, as I said before to you, that anyone can identify as a goddess. It's really just bringing that inner self out in so many different ways and being empowered and encouraged. And we are learning so much about each other and ourselves on this journey.
It's wonderful.
So if you know anyone that you think would be interested in, being a guest on this journey, please send them my way, because I'm always open to talking with and learning new things.
Good. Congratulations on this.
Thank you so much. Let's stay in touch.
Nice meeting all of you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Up next, favorite things. Opening up to happiness and joy.
Instead of thinking negative things, just to things that make us happy, that bring us joy. It's really important to focus on, and it doesn't have to be an object, although we're discovering some really great products that we love. Has to be stuff you love. It's like show and tell for adults.
Right. I love it.
So this is a fragrance. It is from a company called Le Labo. And this scent is Nerelli 36. They're natural. They handpick their flowers and things to put in here. I love it that they'll recycle, so I can bring it back and they'll refill this for me.
Very nice.
They have different kinds of sizes, but what I love most about it is, I think it was 2 years, maybe 3 years ago, at our anniversary, my husband bought it for me, and it has on their anniversary and his name like on here on like a personal label. And I loved it because I don't know about you all, but I always picked my fragrances based on what I liked, the way it smelled for me. And I liked that he picked something that he likes the way it smells. It's totally lovely as well, so it works for both of us, but I thought it was really sweet that he picked something that to him smelled really nice. So when we go out on dates, I wear this. I love it.
I love that too. Alyssa.
Okay, so you probably see in all of these episodes that I have these like antique cameras back here. There's a bunch of them. I don't know if those ever come through on the screen, and I have another one. I have them kind of all over my house. Here's another one.
Wow, that's marvelous.
These are very old. These were most of them were my dad's. My dad was just as a hobby, but an avid photographer. Every holiday, probably for some of you too, was like slideshow, family slideshows and, the reels of the slides. And so photography and albums and, travel, these were all, and his pictures from his travel were always just a big part of him. And I mean, he passed away 4 years ago. So I actually went to my parents' home after my dad had passed away and was sort of helping my mom clean some things. And we came across this giant box of all of these amazing antique cameras. So I said, I'm taking these. And they came home to Chicago with me. And so just looking around here, you can't see them all, but I've got a bunch, and these always back here. And they just remind me of him and make me happy. And I'm not much of a photographer. And now everything I do is on an iPhone. So these antique ones are really special.
That's beautiful. I know you've talked about your dad before with the picture that you brought. That's beautiful.
So with your essays talking, to dead people and spirits, and the name of the show being transparent, I was kind of in a witchy mood when I was getting ready for this. So I feel like I'm wearing like my witchy blouse, and I'm wearing my snake. I don't know if you can tell, but this, and I've talked about this designer. It's a vintage designer, Whitey and Davis, and they use old gunmetal from World War II to make beautiful jewelry and purses. So I love that. But then also in honor of you, I brought my two favorite pens, because you talked about
my pens. I love pens.
Your writing instrument, and I love pens. I love office supply stores. So this is a Sharpie, and it's like a
thin.
Yeah, it's thin. And then this one is from, there's Martha May.
I have, no, not that one. I have something like that, yeah.
It's the most beautiful office supply store in the city, Martha May in Andersonville, and she sells like fine papers. I have.
Don't tell me about that, because then I'll have to go when it's over. I love those kinds of stores. Right?
You will. It is the.
Let's see the paper.
It's the premium of all office supply stores.
Show us the paper again. Lift up. Yeah.
The notebook.
Okay.
This is the notebook, and I personally always write. Like even when I write, I diagram. I have pictures. But it's grid paper, so it's like, I don't know, but I almost write everything. So,
well, I'll show you my my pen that I use. Wait, so I know. You can't see?
Yeah.
This is my pen that I like, which is a Pilot, kind of a fountainy pen. And here's my journal in Spanish. But that's not my favorite thing. My favorite thing is this little animal on the floor. I know you were looking for it, but can you see Doris?
Yes, Doris.
Doris is wondering. So I have to say that Doris is the favorite thing in my life. My children live in LA and Boston. My grandchildren with them. But Doris, I adopted her in July last year. She was 1.5. I've had dogs before. This is the first dog I've had myself. And that was really a leap, definitely a leap, because Chicago winters, having a dog, and as I told you, I just fell down. But she has brought so much to my life in terms of companionship, giving me excuses to go outdoors. But something else that I have realized is that she needs me. And I feel that all of us have to have someone who needs us. Someone who heart gladdens when we come into a room. If you have a spouse like that, that's marvelous, or a friend. And Doris needs me. That's why I love her, and I love her being in my life. And we sleep in the same bed, and when her foot touches my foot, it's heaven. I'm content.
I know. I was so glad to hear that when I said, "Are you swimming?" and you said, "No, I'm walking a dog."
Right.
So I have a favorite thing, and you inspired me to show this. My featured goddesses know that I like to journal, and so I have brought upstairs from my bedroom my journals that.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, yeah. And I've written in my 5-minute journal because it takes literally 5 minutes, but I found my very first one.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was in the back of the drawer that I haven't looked at for the longest time. And
Mhm.
I read that you go back and read. So I got this journal when I was 10. And I mean, every page is filled. And I wanted to read one to you because it's hysterical. 1977. Okay. So I was 11 years old, February 9th. Dear Diary, I feel so bad. I mean, this is hysterical. I feel so bad that I can't even write it. And I spell that R-I-G-H-T. I can't even write it down. I feel stupid, like I'm going to cry. And I feel that I've done something bad. I've looked in, and you know what I did that was so bad?
What?
I looked at my sister's diary, and she's mad at me right now. I'm out of my room and writing, again, R-I-G-H-T-I-N-G, writing this down. So I feel like I'm going to cry and I'm just going to die. I have to go to bed now. So bye. And then I write, P.S. I'm crying now and I want to show my mom this, but she'll probably just tell me to go to bed. Love, Karen. It's so funny to read, like how you were.
Right.
And I go up to, this is a little later, 1989. I wonder as I write what this book is. It is a part of me, a large part, my life, my thoughts, my feelings, my touch. What am I? I am a person, a part of a whole, a piece to a puzzle, a word and a phrase. I think a lot, and I am learning so much each minute. I always wonder about myself, but I understand more, almost like I am slowly, carefully being told the answers. There is so much more I want to know, but I know now that I'm going to find out.
It's wonderful. You're really a philosophical child.
I was
and dramatic, very dramatic.
Oh my gosh. I have like boyfriend breakups, love. I love this one and then that one. And it was so much fun this morning reading through all the journals. And that's Elaine,
the best thing about journals. Yeah,
what you inspired me to do. Yeah. So
well, I'm glad because it's really interesting to go back like a year. I go back a year and I want to see, and I say to that young woman, that woman in there, don't do that. It's not going to turn out well for you. Because I love journaling.
Well, it's amazing, Karen. You were asking about who you were and you were trying to figure out your identity back then. And you started this whole episode with a question about,
I was about 20.
Asking Elaine, what's your identity and talking about your own. So
I've always wondered about my calling, and I don't know if this is it, but this feels right. So it's great to learn from you, Elaine, and continue to learn with you guys on this journey. And thank you for sharing favorite things.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you so much again.
Unleashed your inner goddess yet? Thanks for joining us today on Grateful Goddesses. We invite you to visit our website, www.gratefulgoddesses.com, to access today's show notes as well as other helpful resources. Don't forget to leave a review. Until next time, stay strong and empowered to be a grateful goddess.